dust y'all guys off here now. Alright, so here we go. We got our wait to start light. Our parking brake light works whenever it's on. That light is on, so we know if we ever need to kick off the parking brake or not. She's running. I don't have any of the lights going because those aren't fully connected yet. Our little CTS2 monitor here is monitoring everything for me. We've been running it just a little bit, getting the engine up to temperature and the transmission up to temperature. I drove it around just a tiny bit around the property here. That way I can go ahead and try to check the trans fluid level. I think I'm still a little bit low on it. The shifts on it seem to be a little bit off, but that's understandable if that is low. So we're gonna let this warm up. I'll probably take another few laps around. You can definitely hear we still got a little bit of air in our power steering fluid, so we are going to have to work that out. Now I have ran this a few times before, but never to try to get it up to temperature to let that thermostat kick on, so there will be quite a bit of stuff probably oils trying to burn off and stuff like that. So we just got to be watching everything as we can, make sure there's no leaks and stuff. I did that before on basically the first few startups, just to make sure we didn't have any leaks. I didn't really see any. I was getting a little bit of oil coming out of the exhaust of the turbo. I'm hoping now that I rearranged some of the PCV lines that there's no overpressure causing not to be able to drain as well. So this throttle pedal is very touchy. I may end up having to get that turned down or get one of those little in-betweens where you can kind of turn it down or what, but I barely even tapped it. Now there's a few things that we needed to talk about on this that, well, I needed to correct from, I guess, a previous episode about wiring. So just letting y'all know, I have actually started this thing up already. I have tested a few of the systems. Now that was all mostly because, why did I say mostly that way? Now that was all mostly because I was having some electrical issues on getting this thing started. Now we'll go into what those were and kind of what I misread the diagram back many episodes ago whenever we were doing the body harness and taking that smart box out. Well, let's get into it. So one of the circuits we talked about on a previous episode, whenever I was going over the body harness and deleting out the smart box out of here, was a run power circuit. Now I ended up actually not needing that circuit at all because the engine and everything has its own run power circuit, its own relays and fuses and everything, so we actually didn't end up needing it. That's one of the wires right here. So this wire is actually not connected to anything. I'll probably go ahead and shorten it up and put a little end cap on it because it's not actually needed. And I have one more that's back up under here that's not needed anymore either, but I gotta find it. It's in with all the rest. So once I deleted out that one circuit in here that we didn't need anymore, that run circuit, basically what went to the old ignition switch and everything, I did have that relay open, which actually helped me a lot because now what I'm able to do is hook one wire into the back of the ignition switch up here. That wire triggers that relay, and then that relay triggers my other systems. So that I'm not actually running a ton of amps or anything through our ignition switch in order to turn all those on. But it's running through one wire to turn on a relay, then that allows power through to turn on all the others. So that actually works out pretty well. Now every time I turn the switch on, everything comes on like it's supposed to. So we do have the light system up here. This is actually ran to a full-time power source. Now once it's off, it's not drawing any power, but you are actually able to turn this on even whenever the ignition's off and everything. So if you do need to run some power, or have the headlights on or something, you can, but you need to remember as well that just turning your ignition off is not going to shut off your headlights or anything like that. So it'll be mandatory to turn them on and off each time we drive if it's at night or actually even during the day, because you end up having to turn this on if you want your brake lights to work also. The transfer case, I am currently just going to run it in two-wheel drive until we get this kind of checked out and everything. Now once we've checked out everything, I'll go ahead and take the whole Humvee over to the drive shaft shop, and they will help me with that front drive shaft because we will actually have to kind of do a custom setup on that. The seats are nice and comfortable. Now I didn't actually latch myself in because I'm just driving around my property here at 20 mile an hour maybe. I do have the passenger seat out right now just so I have the batteries accessible currently. Just in case something happens, I can go over there and disconnect the batteries so that everything basically doesn't have power anymore in case we have like an electrical fire or some short circuit or something happening. So a fun little thing I did, I actually took these were between the wheels whenever I got the shipment of the wheels and tires in. It's just kind of a little 1/2 inch thick foam piece. Just went ahead and cut it and put it in the floorboard, so that way it's kind of as a little floor mat. If I get it dirty, it's easier to get the dirt out of that than it is this kind of rough textured stuff. So as you can see, I still need to vacuum everything up in here. And I'm sure y'all noticed on the clip whenever I drove this out of the shop, we do have our new wheels and tires on there. These are 40-inch Milestar Patagonias, and they are on Method wheels. I went ahead and went with the flat black Method wheels, and the 40-inch just kind of helps fill that gap because we did have to end up lifting the body up 3 inches. But now that those are on there, it all kind of looks proportional, and it is definitely beefy now. I mean, the bottom of the seat here is actually comes up to about my belly button. That now gives us a full 24 inches from the bottom of the cab there to the ground. And that's in the front part. In the back it's even higher because it does kind of slope upward. So after all the lift is said and done, the body lift and the new wheels and tires lifted it up even higher. After all that is said and done, you now have to lift your foot almost 3 feet in order to get it inside the cab. Now that's probably an issue for some. I'm able to get my foot up there and kind of swing myself in place into the driver's seat. I may have to look into some grab bars up there. Eventually I would like to go ahead and get some kind of rock rail system here that have a step integrated in it. Now I'm not a big fan of the ones that just bolt onto the side. I would like to get the ones that actually give some protection up underneath as well and goes over and bolts into like the frame. So we actually have a good kind of setup that if anything ever really kind of gets knocked up in there, all of that underside is actually protected. The radiator is doing a good job cooling everything down. Our intercooler is doing great. I do have our little AC condenser on here, but as you can see, it is definitely not hooked up yet. Not really worried about that because we're getting down into the 80s now, and it's just going to keep dropping into winter. So I will have a good while to go ahead and hook all that up and get that running. Next steps for me is going to go ahead and drill out our spacers for the hood so we can get the hood on here. Finish up our doghouse cover, sand that all down, get it smooth, get it sprayed, get all our latches and everything back on there. And then also we're gonna need to put a good kind of thermal isolator insulation kind of thing on the back of that. So what I'm looking at is possibly a thicker thermal insulation and then covering it with that silver thermal barrier that I've been putting in some of the other spots. That'll help out a lot because once this engine was heating up, just driving around the yard here, I could definitely feel the heat coming off that engine. Well, there we have it, guys. First drive episode is down. Now we only got to drive it in the grass, but I know y'all have been waiting for this episode, and I have been waiting for this episode for a very long time, and I'm super happy about it. Next steps will be to get this thing all finished up so we can get it inspected and driving on the road, do some road testing on it, find a piece of road somewhere in Mexico or something to do a little testing on. Anyways, I hope y'all liked the episode, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time.